What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tom Castro Next Level Podcast. Let's get it on. Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy Podcast. You have now entered the next level. All right, guys, welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy Next Level Podcast. We are on our 5th edition, a very young podcast still. So I have my special guest that I always seem to have on here, Mr. Craig Mcelini, coming back from Aruba. So we talked about this right before I actually got together with the guys about running the match. So let's get back into the Aruba match. Mr. Craig Mcelini, do you have something to show the world? Oh, what does he have?
Yeah.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Craig Mcelini, for everybody who's not watching the YouTube video, is holding up a very nice, beautiful Aruba trophy.
Yeah.
So let's hear about it, man. How was your match?
It was good. The whole experience was awesome. From just being able to travel somewhere else was cool, but then traveling out of the country and then going to a place like Aruba, the people were amazing. IPSC was it was a totally different experience than USPSA. I mean, it was. I'm not trying to say that make a contrast like that's USPSA is worse, but like it's just it was just differently run, you know, and it was a cool experience to see that. So I had a blast. It was all together positive all the way around. A different match than what I was used to, big time. It was very technical. There wasn't a lot of running and gunning, you know, but a lot of penalty targets, a lot of hardcover targets, tons of them. And 20 stage match, it was very well spread out. I mean, they had a chunk of short courses, medium and large. So overall, it was a great experience. Highly recommend anybody to go shoot that match. They were awesome. The people there were just wonderful. So I had a great time. It was really good.
So how long were you there for? How many days did you stay?
Flew in. The match was Saturday, Sunday. We flew in Thursday. We walked stages. I want to say walk stages. We observed stages Friday, and then flew out Monday. So
what do you mean by observed? So
yeah, I was just going to explain that. In IPSC, like you're not allowed to walk on the stage at all ever until you get the 3 to 4 minute walkthrough in the match. So you can walk up to the rear fault line over wherever the stage is and just observe as best you can. There's a few differences. So I could talk about that now. So some of the differences were that you cannot walk the stage. So you show the day before your rear fault line, you could see a lot of things, but you really can't see all of the angles. So you kind of have to get a stage plan, but be flexible because you once you start seeing the angles up front, you may have to change things around.
You had some pretty big field courses from some of the videos I saw. So like that really affects your angles when you, really affects the angles when you can't get up there and actually see them.
Yeah. Really cool. Stage 20 was a big field course and really similar to USPSA. A lot of running, a lot of gunning. It had a seesaw type bridge thing, which is pretty cool. You had to wait to kind of see where your targets were. You couldn't see any of the targets downrange or your angles at all until you got to walk through the stage, you know, the 3 to 4 minute walkthrough. One of the other big things with PCC or even pistol was no loaded sight picture, no sight pictures at all. You really kind of, to confirm your dot, you can draw and like 45 degree on the ground and look and confirm that your dot's on, but that's about it. You can't air gun a sight picture or anything like that.
So did you do practice draws? Did you do any practice draws, even at the 45 degree angle, or did you just roll with it and say, all right, my dot's on? Like, you turn your dot on, check that on the ground, but did you practice drawing to the ground?
Yeah. So so what I did is I loaded the gun, and then I started the buttstock on my belt and just drew to the ground and pulled it in just to kind of feel the sight picture. And that's about as much as you can do. The other thing, which I thought was unique and I'd never seen, was they actually take an inventory of your belt. They have a schematic of your belt, and they look at where your mag placements are on the belt, and you're not allowed to change it. So it's got to be the same for each for each stage. So each stage they look and they make sure that you didn't change your mag positions or anything like that. So.
Well, that's interesting. So they actually carry that. Does that go to stage,
It
or do they
follow stage to stage? Yeah.
Do you carry that and hand that to the ROs? Or
yes. And they have to sign it.
Turn that in.
Yeah. Each RO signs it. Yeah. And, and listen, they were super laid back, but they're following the rules,
I didn't even know that was a rule. That's crazy.
I didn't know either. It was no big deal, but your shirts have to be tucked in. I think that everybody's shirt had to be tucked in. So it was kind of like, just some minor tweaks here and there. So it was cool though. It was a good experience.
That's cool.
I didn't have too much of a problem.
So did you stay for the award ceremony?
Yeah. So they do, at the hotel, the match hotel, all the shooters were kind of there from out of the country. I think there was like 14 or 15 different countries there. They had a dinner there at night. When you registered, you kind of pick what you wanted to eat. They had skirt steak or fish or some chicken and stuff. And then Sunday night we had an award ceremony and a dinner and all that. It was great. It was really well run, well put together. It was cool. It was unique seeing the dinner and all that. I guess for nationals they do that. I didn't experience that last year, but I heard that I guess this year at the Talent or wherever they had the nationals, they had some kind of a dinner too. So maybe it's similar. But
for Alabama,
yeah.
Yeah. The one that ran out of food. Yeah. That one for low cap. Yeah. So hopefully that'll be better for,
I'm sure it will be.
It'll be better. I'm sure. So, I mean, listen,
I'm sure
it happens. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. That's what it is. Of course.
Up to those things and mistakes happen and it is what it is. So like, to me, that isn't the end of the match or the death of the match. To me, the match is there for shooting and all the extra stuff. So the problem with nationals though, since we got into this conversation, is that it's an overall experience, right? Like for most shooters, like to me, nationals is about the shooting and going for a national championship, and all that other stuff doesn't matter as much to me. I'm there to shoot, right? So obviously when you're done shooting, and especially a range like that where there's nothing to eat around there. So it's not like, hey, we ran out of food, I'm gonna run over here to Mickey D's and grab some crappy burgers or whatever. You're stuck with nothing to eat, right? So I think that was probably the biggest issue with nationals was you're there all day, you've been shooting all day or all
starving
week, and you're starving and you're like, all right, cool, I got to be here for at least an hour after we shoot to wait for the scores to clear. And nationals is a huge production. I mean, you've been, but you've only been to the frostproof one. So like these other ranges. Yeah. So I know the one we did in Utah was really good because that was off site. So I kind of thought the off site one was really good because they had plenty of time to set everything up and do what they had to do. To me, when it's on site, it seems like it's really rushed. And what I mean by that is everybody wants to get done, get the awards over and go home because they're traveling or whatever. But the one in Utah, for whatever reason, the one in Utah reminded me a lot of the Puerto Rico award ceremony. It was just a lot more like they had it come to a completely different destination to have the award ceremony. Like the one we've had at Frostproof was the same way. That was really good. Alabama's a little different because they do the award ceremony at the range, right? Which is fine. It just isn't set up the same. It's not a banquet hall, right? Like Utah was awesome. It was an outdoor arena. I don't want to say it was an arena, but it was an outdoor setting, had huge tents. It was on a golf course. You could tell it was, designed for big, large events. So, Alabama, there's not enough tables to sit at. And again, this isn't against USPSA at all. It's just that you can only host these matches in so many places, right? Like when you need 21 stages or 21 bays, that's hard. There's not a lot of ranges in the country that have that. And number two, that want to have that, right? Like, I talked about this in the previous podcast, how USPSA shooters think they're special. We're not special. We're just one of the type of shooters that pulls the trigger on a gun and shoot at targets, right?
Yeah.
So I see that a lot where, people are like, oh, well, we should have this and we should have that. Well, we don't, right? Like if
Yeah.
you go to these other matches, those guys get the same stuff that we get, right? They have everybody, you have the same issues at every match. It's just, you probably don't know about them. Some of them, nationals is the big match that everybody talks about, right? So
Yeah.
that one's going to have the most scrutiny, but you go to other matches and, you're not going to see 400 people come to an award ceremony. That's the difference. You're not going to see 300 plus people showing up to an award ceremony. So that is the difference on what you have to feed. Right.
Yeah. But you got a good point though. Like, for instance, like you were saying, everybody's leaving, or everybody shoots and goes. Like Aruba and I guess Puerto Rico, probably the same thing is you're not going anywhere till the next day,
right.
So, which is, so everybody's there, but yeah, I mean, we've been to, the Florida State match, the Florida Open, and all these other matches, and a lot of people just shoot and go, so there's not really anything afterwards anyway, so
yeah,
I guess when you got to fly somewhere, you're stuck, for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So like, again, this year I'm really excited I'm hoping that this year that everything goes well at nationals, but I'm really excited for next year if everything goes back to normal where we can start hitting some of these bigger matches again, because this year I missed out on Aruba for a couple of reasons. I had a class, which I'll get into a little bit later, but I had a class to do in Texas, and that was the same dates of Aruba. But
and you already made a commitment too. So
right. Yeah. And I was already committed, and I couldn't do the Aruba thing anyway, just because of the whole mask mandate and all that crap that they got going on. But it was just like, I just want us to, if we could just get back to normal and have some normal sense of like I feel like right now I would have probably been shooting a major match since so South Carolina was the last major match I shot. That's months ago, dude. I mean, I would shoot a major match once a month and we would have one going everywhere. And now it's just like the big thing now is with the way COVID has caused issues in all these other states. They've jammed all of the matches at the end of the year now. So this will go out in a couple of days, but I was going to go to the North Carolina sectional match. I wanted to go to Area 4. I'm going to Georgia State. There's a few, like Area 4 is the same dates as Georgia. I have a class, tough, man. Right. I have a class on September 2nd, or I keep saying that, October 2nd and 3rd, the weekend after Georgia. So I'm going to drive to Georgia, shoot a match, drive home, and come back to work and go right back to driving again, another 12 hours to get to South Carolina, or 10, whatever it is, hours to get to that range and run that class and then drive home. And then within 2 weeks later, I'm driving back to nationals in Alabama.
Yeah.
So it's like within that 1 month period, and August was the same way. August was crazy because of running a match locally here. I'm running 4 matches a week or 3 matches a week, plus a Sunday match now with the other guys. It's just insane. The schedule plus work has been insane. So it's like, I remember the last time we talked on the phone, you had just come back from Aruba and I was like, bro, I'm just done. Like I'm wiped out, like mentally.
Yeah. You were
wiped out.
Beat. You couldn't talk.
Well, I came back from the Texas class and I got beat up, right? Like I literally beat myself up. The first day was 12 hours on the range, like 12 hours straight on the range in the sun. And my dumbass, I don't like sunblock. I don't like any of those chemicals and things, but I'm going to start having to now because I got torched, dude, like torched. Like I actually sunburned my lips so bad that it looked like I got punched in the face. Like it was so bad. Like my face was peeling like a lizard. It was, I was just absolutely toast.
Your students got their money's worth. 12 hours.
So day 2, I was like, all right, cool. I'll push really hard on day 1. Right. We'll push really hard on day 1. We'll do 12 hours, and the students were, so I gave them the option, right? Because I can go until I fall over. I don't ever quit. That's just the way I've always been. I don't quit. So I was like, if you guys want to train, I got a lot more to give you. And they were like, yes. Well, they screwed up.
Yeah.
Because I just kept giving and giving and giving and giving until finally they were like, all right, man, we're done. I was like, all right, cool. We left
Yeah, but they didn't see you. They didn't see you in the back snorting 2 lines of coke.
Yeah,
ready to go.
right. Yeah, my drug habit over here. Well, that was the thing. I've had a couple guys ask me like, "Man, you don't drink, you don't do drugs." I'm like, "Dude, do I look?" Other people ask me, "Did you drink coffee?" I'm like, "Have you met me? Do I look like a guy?" Yeah, I was like, "Do I look like a guy? Do I look like a guy who needs any extra energy?" They can't usually shut me off. So, but yeah, so I did the class. And everything was good. The day 1, day 2 comes around, and I spent probably an hour to 2 hours taking care of my feet. I had giant blisters all over my feet from standing in wet grass in the morning and not getting off my feet enough. So that was rough. So I worked it out though. I made it through day 2. And then finally, we luckily on day 2 though, we had a match that was shot in the morning. And in that class, I was able to go and save those stages because they didn't tear them down. They left them up. All we had to do was take the paper down. So we went and shot 3 of the stages that they had from the match. So that was a huge benefit because I was able to go into stage planning with my students. And cool. Normally I only build 1 stage. And I build 1 stage to where you have to stage plan it. There's different ways to shoot it. There's always something different you can add and change the way it shoots to add a little time or shoot sooner and all those things that I teach on Saturday. But it was awesome because it was 3 completely different stages. Now, I think the best part of it all is I videoed everybody's stage run. And then I had my buddy Sam Caldwell came out, one of my students, one of my really good friends, came with me to the class and helped me for that class so I could get some video. And I videoed all of the students' runs as well as my run on those stages. So I was able to go back, and as a bonus to them, I was able to do an overlay video of my stage runs versus their stage runs. And actually, I'm going to try to post that up this week if I can, so everybody can kind of see what I did.
Yeah, those are cool.
Well, the cool part of it is I did a side-by-side. So it was me and them next to each other. So you could see both of our runs. And obviously I time it off the beep to show the times. And then I show an overlay of me actually, like basically what you do is you take the other video, drop it on top of it, and then you take the opacity down so you can see through one of them. And then you can physically see where I'm making up my time compared to what somebody else does.
That's awesome.
And now, I would say the worst part of doing that as a teacher is I'm tired. So after 12 hours of coaching and talking the entire time, because I don't take a break. So for me, my students take the way I do my class. And the reason I figured out the way to do my class at the very beginning is I break my class in half. I have 5 or 6 people come up, and then another 5 or 6 people come up. So I break it in half so that I have one-on-one training with each individual, but it allows people to get a mental break. Because what happens when you take a class, especially a class like mine, is there's a lot of information. I throw out so much information. Yep. And that's not even my advanced class. My class is already advanced, but I have now created an advanced class that goes way deeper into some of the stuff that my original class has already created. So my original class, I talk a lot. I go into a ton of movement, a lot of time-saving stuff, talking about shooting sooner. I talk about transitions, everything that you're supposed to talk about when you take a class to get better in the sport. But I go into a lot of detail about movement and how to shoot on the move and to be successful from the beginning. Not just, all right, man, you just need to pull the trigger as you're moving. That's not the answer. I want to give you the how, right? So as I go into this class, into day 2, I start shooting the first stage. Well, it's not perfect because I'm exhausted, right? But that's not what it's there for. Because when we started the day, I don't just go, hey, let's go shoot some stages. I still had like 5 or 6 drills we need to get into so that they could take those drills and put them into the stage plans. And what was really cool is by the end of the day, by the last stage, I had a gentleman, Andy Whitley, that I stayed with in Texas. Man, the group of guys in Texas, bro, are just like us. Like, I mean, identical. They have the same demeanor and attitude like we do. They love messing with each other, but in a great way.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say they're like screwing off.
Right. So we fit in immediately. Like I met him. I drove to their house obviously from Florida, drove all the way there. They let us stay at the house. It was amazing. Like they just the hospitality. We went out to eat every night as a group. They have a core group of guys that brought me there. And then we added other people. I met a couple of my students from the insider circle that I haven't met yet. And that was really, I mean, there's just, it was such a great experience that since I haven't been able to coach in over a year, dude, because of this COVID shit, it was the best class. And I'm chomping at the bit to do another one. Right? It was that good. It was, yeah. So when you have that experience, it's like, all right, this is what I love to do, man. Like, this is what I love to do. The problem is, you know, it's just scheduling now at this point. Like, it's just scheduling right now sucks. Like some of these classes that people have been asking me to do, I want to do them, but I have to drive because I can't fly. I won't fly with a mask. So it's like somebody asked me about doing a class in Washington, bro. That's a long drive. Like it's not worth it to drive there. Right. So I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where I'm either going to
Washington State.
Yeah. Like Oregon area, Washington. Wow. Yeah. Like the other planet, the other side of the world. Yeah. Us, right. Like completely opposite side of the country, you know? So I'm like, man, that's not a good drive. So, you know, I don't know. It just really depends on how work goes with construction, because construction's kicking my ass right now, dude. I'm so busy and I have so many crazy timelines, all inside of nationals, right? Like, oh yeah, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And again, this isn't poor me. I just want to explain to people that I'm not a professional shooter, right? I am a self-sponsored shooter. I really am. I'm a self-sponsored shooter that loves to coach. So now at this point, I'm like, all right, I can't sacrifice my construction business. I can't sacrifice my students. So where does it go? Sleep, right? I don't get a lot of sleep. So then it's tough, man. And again, this isn't poor me. This is just, I feel like this happens to a lot of shooters. And I felt like this was a topic like, dude, you're a great example. Look what's going on with you right now, man, between what you do for a living, with COVID and all the pressure that you guys have because you're in the medical business, right? You're a paramedic, fireman, paramedic, whatever. You know, you're a part of SWAT. So you have all these irons in the fire, dude. And now what happens at home? What do you have to deal with?
Termites.
Yeah, dude. Now you got to tent your house.
I got to tent my goddamn house. It's nonstop, man.
Welcome to Florida, right? Like, I know. Welcome to Florida. We have termites, mosquitoes. We live in a damn swamp, right? Yep. So it's like, so I mean, you add that to the list of things that you're trying to do to get ready for nationals as well. Yeah, it's in
the middle of September.
Yeah, dude. When you were right before you went to Aruba, like literally right before your air conditioner goes down, like all this stuff that happens in our lives that we have to deal with on top of work. And then you try to throw in this amazing hobby that we do. And all of a sudden you're like, what gives? Right? It's usually the hobby. It's usually the hobby.
And the way we treat this hobby is there's zero room for error, right? So it's like you gotta run it all the time perfect, and no room for error, which obviously is not reality, but that's where we want to be.
I think a lot of it has to do with the level that we take this sport, right? Like, and I hear this all the time. I hear people say, "Oh man, it's just fun. It's just fun. So I'm out here for fun." Then why are you looking at the scores? Because it's fun to win. Right. Like I just had this conversation, bro. It's fun to win. Like I love winning.
Yeah. The other thing is if you can't win it like I took third place at Aruba, it's fun to get better and to learn. And I learned a lot and I know I got better. And the other positive thing I pulled out of this is I see where I'm lacking and where I need to be better. So those are all win-win-wins in my opinion, So like if you can't win and be first, well, guess what? If you're getting better, that's a hell of a good start, Yeah.
So because I have to bring this up, man, because this was probably one of the coolest experiences of Texas. So the guy that originally brought me out and called me about a class was Scott Ree. And it's Wallace Orchard Gun Club is where we had it. That club is amazing. Like, they're so helpful. There's 3 or 4 different clubs. It reminds me a lot of how we do it at Ruskin at Guncraft, where there's a couple of different clubs. Everybody kind of has their own little connex. They have their own gear, but everybody will share if they need to. Right. So, cool. Yeah. They try not to share, right? Obviously, everybody wants to keep their own equipment saved because, I mean, we are shooting at things downrange and people shoots stuff all the time that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So we go down, we're at the range, and so we go to the range, and the day one was Friday. So I got there Thursday night at like, I don't know, 10 or 11. Like, we left at 4 or 5 in the morning. Rented a car. Sam rode with me. We drove up. And the drive was great. 0 problems on the drive. The car that I rented was getting 30 miles a gallon. So I was like, this was worth the rent. Yeah, it was like, this is worth the money. My truck's like 12, bigger tires, it's built for towing a trailer. And I was like, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't beat my truck up on this drive. Oh, yeah. So the only thing I hated was the damn car is low to the ground, dude. And I can't stand that. You can't see around anything. I'm a real defensive driver. So I look around, like always paying attention.
You're more of an offensive driver.
Yeah. Well, hey, but I always know what's around me. Right. Hey, and I actually did really good on speeding, dude. I actually stuck with the cruise control the whole ride. So I wasn't getting another Georgia ticket. That's for sure. We get there, we get up there, and we hang out for a couple hours. Like, so I could, meet Andy. Had never really met him, and met his wife, and she was amazing. So got a chance to really get to know them for a couple hours. Sam passed out. Like, he's like, dude, I'm going to bed. So he went and slept earlier than I did. I still had to wind down from the drive. So like, I probably stood up for 2 hours after the drive, and Andy and them were like, hey, you want to sit down? I'm like, dude, I've been sitting for 16 hours.
Oh my God.
I'm good. I just want to stand up for a little bit and like feel my legs. So we all go to sleep. The next day, we're going to build stages. So I'm not much of a sleeping guy. If there's light and I see it, it's over. Like, I'm up. I don't really sleep.
It's hard. Yeah.
I don't usually sleep past 7 or 8. It's just this. Yeah. I'm naturally up, ready to work. So get up, get my stuff set up. Andy and them make breakfast early in the morning. So I was there, made us breakfast. I mean, dude, that guy is amazing. Like, just really enjoyed their company. They're really great people. So we meet everybody at this place called Orr Tactical Ammunition, I think is what I know. It's Orr Tactical. I'm not sure if it's ammunition, but they make ammo on a commercial size. That's cool. Commercial size rate, right? So they sell to the public, they sell to ranges, they sell to, if you bring them an ammo that you want to have made for your open gun or for your rifle, they make it for you, right? They'll make you a custom load or whatever, and then they'll make you specifically ammo for you. So we got to take a tour of this place, and bro, I'll tell you, I hate reloading, like absolutely hate reloading. I have a Mark 7 that I push a button on, and I still hate reloading, but I do love the Mark 7, right? Like, it is an amazing machine.
Yep.
I love that machine so that I can only press a button. So
I've got the Mark 7 hand crank.
Yes,
I still love that thing, but
dude, they make a great machine, right? They really do. Awesome. That thing is phenomenal. Just love it. So I go into this place, and the first thing I walk into is, and I can't remember the name of, I think they're called Kydexes. I'm not sure. I can't remember the name of them. I'm sure I'm misquoting that, but it's basically an inline progressive machine where it just goes in a straight line. It goes across up and down, up and down, and it tests everything. Dude, they have an air pressure thing where when they drop it down on the case, if it doesn't match the pressure that it's supposed to, it opens a gate on the back and kicks it out.
Oh my God.
Right. So in other words, if you have a stepped case, it'll know. If it's a 380, it'll know because the pressure won't be the same as 9mm. So it kicks it out. So it's amazing, like unreal, dude, like crazy. So all these safety features, I mean, I will tell you, it's a complete foreign subject to me though. When I walked up to that machine, I was like, I wouldn't know the first thing how to run this. Right.
Yeah.
So I meet all the employees. They're amazing. Everybody was just super nice. It was awesome. So go in, I'm back in the corner. They show this brass processor and I'm like, holy shit, dude. It's like the size of my truck, right? And it's got two different layers that it goes in. So you throw it in, the brass goes in, and there is, I don't want to say they're tungsten, but almost like BBs, right? But they're, I can't think of the name of it right now, but there's BBs in there that they drop soap and a little bit of water and it runs it, right? So it just runs it and runs it and runs it. And these things come out and this is all once fired brass, right? This stuff comes out like brand new out of the factory brass. Then it drops it into corn cob. So it goes around in a circle and it hits you basically pull a lever and it opens a gate and all of it spins out of that and leaves all the metal ball bearings. That's what I was looking for. The ball bearings in the center department and never lets it get into the corn cob. Rolls around, falls into the corn cob, runs around, dries, finishes doing what it does, and then falls out. Then they take it and they make the bullets, right? I mean, they have giant barrels of bullets and brass and pallets of everything. It's unreal, right? And this place isn't that big. I mean, it's a factory for sure, but it isn't like this. It's not like you would see it like a Winchester, or, I mean, it's not that big, but so I'm watching them make, and they take me through the whole process, dude. It was really eye-opening on what a big scale would take, right? Like, some of those machines are extremely expensive. So he takes me to this back room with the guys and we go into the room and he shows me basically a machine that case gauges all the ammo without case gauging. It has an eye on it that when it comes by the eye,
it reads it.
It reads it. I mean, to the T.
That's
and then
cool.
it has this section where it kicks them out if they're bad or if they think they're bad. So it throws it to the side and then everything else goes into the other bucket where it's good. So I'm talking to him and I'm like, all right, so what do you do with the bad rounds? He goes, well, we case gauge every one of those and try them afterwards, if we have to. 99% of those rounds that is seen by an eye that says it's bad is still a good round. It just that little bit of percentage that it needed for it to kick it to the left, right? So I'm talking to him about this machine. He's just like, yeah, man, that's a $350,000 machine. I'm like, what? Like, really? I was like, so what did you used to do before you had this? Oh, wait, the story gets even better. He goes, yeah, we used to case gauge every single one. Yeah, dude,
my God.
You're talking, I think he had 50,000 rounds that machine ran in an hour.
Oh, my God.
So they used to case
gauge
every
painful. Painful just thinking about that, man.
So wait, it gets even better. Yeah,
with a hundo. You got a hundo.
Oh, no. They're doing the single case gauge. No hundo.
Oh,
yes, single case gauge. So that was the old system. So I asked him about this machine and I was like, so how much is this machine? He goes, oh, it's normally $350,000. Somebody went out of business and couldn't use it anymore. He bought it for $10,000.
Oh my God.
I was like, that is amazing, dude.
Oh my God.
Amazing. Amazing. So, but here's the thing, talking to him, even though it was a great deal, he spent a lot of time getting it to run. There wasn't working correctly. Yeah. Yeah. It had a lot to do to fix it. And these guys that they called him the Colonel, right? He was a Colonel. I go in there. He's such a great dude, right? The guy was so amazing. I mean, he just gave me so much extra attention, walked me around. Cause I'm always intrigued by that kind of stuff that when they're building stuff. So we go around and he starts showing me some stuff. And I asked him, I said, so how do you put these in the boxes? Like, do you hand pluck every piece into a box? Cause he puts them into your standard boxes like you would for, what you buy off the shelf. He invented, dude, people are just amaze me. He invented a box loader. So he made this machine where basically it's a giant vibrating table that all the rounds will fall nose first down into the slots. All you have to do is load the trays into that machine. They fall into the trays. You basically lift it up like it's a grill, like a George Foreman grill. You lift the top off, you pull the boxes out, slide them in the new box. Everything's case gauged and been done already. So like the innovation, like out of necessity.
I think all of us would love to have our own ammo factory right now.
so yeah, but not, dude, I'm telling you, I talked to him a lot about that. I talked to him a lot about primers. I asked him, I said, so, how are you doing? He's like, we are struggling getting primers, and he's a manufacturer, right? He's a manufacturer and can't get primers right now. So, and then when he is getting primers, they're getting outrageous prices, right? They're still getting the same crappy prices that we're all getting, right? I mean, obviously we're getting charged more than he is, but he said that we're getting hit with terrible prices as well, because what's going on right now is they're hitting the port. A lot of these foreign primers are coming in. They're hitting the port, and instead of them filling the contracts, they're outbidding each other for those primers. So if somebody comes in and says, I'll pay you, $300,000 for those primers, and somebody bought them for $100,000, as a business owner, what these companies are doing, well, hell, I'll take the $300,000 and just sell everybody else I didn't get primers in. So that's what's going on in a lot of ways. There's a lot of bullshit that's going on with primers that we're not being told. Materials in general. Look at what happened with Russia. Again, not to get into politics here or, any kind of gun, crap, but like right now, they just banned all Russian ammo, all Russian guns, everything. It's gone. Yeah. Where do you think a lot of these primers were coming from? It's all coming from over there right now. We're not getting American made primers as fast as we're getting the foreign stuff. So, we're getting blocked in many ways from getting our stuff. So we finish that. The guys took me out to eat afterwards, and place was amazing. But for the first time in a very long time, I did not break my diet with the sugar. So they had bread pudding at the restaurant that we went to, dude. And, I have a soft spot for that. That's right here in the middle, right on the gut. But if I eat a lot of sugar, it tears up my legs real bad. It's arthritis. I have arthritis in my legs. It's something that runs through my family really bad. So I had to refrain from eating the sugar.
Yeah, or your knees would get beat up.
And I hadn't even started the trip yet, right? Like I hadn't even started coaching or running or anything. So I learned really quickly that nutrition is very important in this sport for me. And I had a buddy, Dwayne Spires, who comes and I've coached a lot, and we've done a lot of stuff where he's helped me get my insider circle going and all that stuff. And he told me a few months ago, when my journey started for nationals, that don't allow your physical fitness to be what crushes you at nationals. Don't lose because you gas out. So I started changing the way I eat. I started working out again. I started changing my mindset on that, what my goal is an overall goal, right? It's not just, okay, cool. I want to win on the range. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you really think about it, man, we're only shooting for a minute, maybe 2 minutes at the most. So those 2 minutes are not won at the match. They're won before I get there. Right. And I think that's the big thing that people lose, is that all the training we do is what makes us good, not the shooting at the major matches, right? Like if you're not winning major matches, is because you're not doing something before you get there. So I don't know, man, it's been crazy because I've been having a few practices lately that some of the practices I've been having lately have been huge breakthroughs mentally. Some of the things that I'm starting to train now, I'm training a lot more of the mental consistency. A lot of that stuff starting to change. It's crazy how, you go through these levels of change as you become a better shooter. And the class, I saw a big level, and that's why I kind of brought this up with the health stuff. I saw a big level of the mental change at the class. Andy is a great example. Like I'll just use him because he was one of the last shooters of the day. And quite a few of the guys in the class, not Andy, but quite a few guys in the class they were holding themselves back. Right. I mean, And you've seen that before, right? Like how many times have you seen where people could be faster, but they're not willing to let go of that little bit of control that they think they have, right? So guy goes in, or a couple guys go in, and I'm just like, man, you have 3 seconds you could take off the stage, 2 seconds at least, right? I try not to tell people 3 4 seconds. I try not to make a time because right. Then they're reaching for the time instead of instead of reaching for what they're supposed to reach for. So I said to him, I said, all right, man, here it is. Shoot the stage. Andy shoots the stage at 12 seconds, 12 plus seconds. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I've seen you shoot. I've seen you draw. I've seen you do all of this stuff for the last 2 days, and that's the best you got. Come on, man. You got to let it go, right? You got to let it go. He looked at me like, all right, I'm going to reload. I was like, all right, go reload. So a bunch of other people went up. He comes up, dude, and runs the stage in 9 seconds, like 8:54.
Yeah, what is that? What does that tell you? Man, 3 freaking seconds.
And he had hits. I mean, listen, when I say you got to go, I'm not telling you just to pull the trigger and like, okay, whatever. He had hits. He had hits. So I said to him, I said, look, this is your homework when I leave. You have to change your mindset. And there was at least 3 other guys in that class that I had to change their mindset on how to shoot. And that's one of the things I pride myself on when I teach a class is that I'm going to teach you to go faster from the very beginning, right? My class is not to go slow. I'm going to teach you how to take your shooting to the next level. So that was a big thing, man. I walked out of that class and I had a whole new perspective of mindset, right? Does that make sense? Like I walked away from that class, not just for them, but for me as well. I had a whole different mindset when I left that class. Like, all right, man, this is it. Like the mind controls everything. It really does. We just don't think about that stuff because we're so worried about shooting results and pulling the trigger, right? Yep. So like how many times, and I wanted to ask you about this because we haven't really talked about this to anybody, but Aruba. So your very first stage, you have some problems. What happened?
Yeah. I mean, my first stage we started was a smaller stage, had a swinger. You had one open paper on the left, swinger in the middle, and one paper on the right. And then to start the stage, you have to lift up a lid on a box, grab your gun, load it, and then shoot. So the lifting up the lid activates the swinger. Well, I mean, I lifted up the lid, loaded the gun, shoot the left, shoot the swinger, shoot the right. And I got 2 freaking shots in the delta. I mean, that just pissed me off right together, shooting low. So, and they were right in the middle, low, almost touching. And, all I had to do was aim higher and it would have been 2 alpha. I was like, oh God, what a start. I mean, I bled deltas the first day. I mean, my Alpha Charlie count was super good. And there was a lot I could have worked on, but I could tell you the deltas and then the deliberate. I mean, I was not as fast as what I should have been. And it was more like, okay, these are penalty targets. We got to be careful. Everything is hardcover, all this stuff. So I took away from that match that I've got to be shooting faster. I need to be transitioning faster, manipulating everything faster. I need to be doing things at a higher rate of speed. And I can. It was just a matter of pushing myself. And I should have gone faster. So that's what my biggest thing is, just watching the video going, oh my God, I'm so damn slow.
So, I mean, so honestly, man, what part of the problem when you have matches with lots of penalties? So I just watched Area 8 had a ton of penalty targets on it. And what happens now, I didn't shoot Area 8 because of, time and travel and all that stuff. But I would say that the biggest thing I'm noticing with a lot of shooters lately is if there's a lot of penalty targets, and this is what happened to you. We talked about this a little bit after your match, was you went into that match knowing, oh my God, there's tons of penalties. There's no shoots on everything. There's hardcover on everything. I mean, you had a lot of hardcover targets. So right away, the first thing that happens when people see the penalty targets is they immediately slow down for safety. I can't have any mics, can't make any mistakes. I can't do this. I can't do that. So the problem with that though is you shouldn't even see them. They're not there, right? They're not there. Why would you change the way you shoot a penalty target over an open target? You're supposed to be shooting the A regardless. It's just that you need to make sure where your holds are, that you're focused on both shots, not just the first shot. So what happens, why most people get penalties, is they focus on the first shot. Then the second shot's like, well, I'm there, boom. And that's when you get the penalty.
Alpha, Delta, Alpha, Mike. Yeah, for sure.
So did you see a lot of guys slow down because of the penalties everywhere?
I think so. I mean, like I said, when I say slow down, my time wasn't terrible, but I know I could have shot faster, right? So that's all that matters.
Slow. No, you shot. You did not shoot you definitely 100% did not shoot your ability. I saw you shoot it. I watched your videos. You did not shoot like Craig at all. Like, I don't want to say at all, but you definitely weren't aggressive like you usually
100%, are. 100%. Yep.
Like you usually are.
I know that Mike Seifert, another guy, I just met him Thursday that night, and he was my roommate. So he was shooting with Da Vinci as well with me. A good dude. He shot pretty quick. Marco Cabahug shot pretty quick. But I just felt like I was slower, you know? So those matches, when I was saying before, is the good thing about those is you can see where you did well and then really where you need to work. I'm really glad I got to shoot a match like that because I never shot one like that before, and I would definitely shoot it differently next time.
Yeah, I'm starting to do the stages that I'm starting to build now at the local matches are a lot more of stop and shoot, hit a specific spot, maybe throw a little bit of movement stuff in there. But I'm really starting to focus a lot more on stopping and shooting because I don't want to say it's a weakness of mine, but I feel like because the people that build nationals, they do a lot of it. There's a lot of stopping and shooting. There's a lot more emphasis on accuracy over. And so when somebody throws a 25-yard target out there, that doesn't make the stage harder. It makes the stage slower.
Yeah.
Right. It makes the stage slower. So, but are you going to move on a 25-yard target? I would 100% move on a 25-yard target if it flows right. Right. Yeah. Because I practice that now at this point. So a great example is we had a practice on Sunday with a bunch of guys from the insider circle that I'm friends with that are part of the help run the match and also are in my insider circle, my coaching program that I have. And we worked on nothing but 20 plus yard shots. Even when we moved forward on things, we were still at 18 yards. So at the end of the practice, I had a chance to talk to a couple of the guys and I asked them, I said, so what did you think about the practice? And I said, how did you feel at the end? They were like, well, it's a lot. It's as easy. Like I felt like those targets were nothing. I said, you do realize that we're still at 20 to 25 yards.
Those are first shots, man.
Well, no, they looked at me and they were like, oh, it didn't even feel like it. I go, because we've been practicing it all day.
Exactly.
It's a mental block that you have when you start working on distance. As soon as you start going to close targets, they feel like they're 3 feet away, even if it's 15. So if you go to 25 or 20, and then you put a target at 15, all of a sudden that 15-yard target is super close.
Yep.
Right. Super close, even though it's still 15 yards, there's no difference. So it's one of those things where if you don't practice the long distance and you don't practice that pinpoint accuracy of entering places, it costs you time, right?
Yeah. So that was a very good point you just made. So a lot of what this match was, as a matter of fact, probably 90% of it was all technical foot placement. If you entered in and set up with your left foot, you had their raise. If you changed it and had your right foot, you missed. There's 2 targets you can't see. So it was all about come in here, put your foot this way, you know. So like I said, most people would go like, oh no, that sucks. Well, if you're trying to get better, you know, this was a good match. I mean, it really was. It was a very, you know, I learned a lot, man, because I never shot something like that. You know, now let me rephrase that. There may be a couple of rays in a stage where they're like that, but not the entire match or the entire stage. Pretty much most of this was move to a position, shoot, move to a position, shoot, move to a position, shoot. There was a few places where there was shooting on the move, not a lot. You could shooting entering and shooting leaving, but other than that, it was a lot of positioning, and you know, it was good. It was good.
So we we shot the low cap. I shot low cap this year, and I really thought that was a really good match. I sucked. I didn't, because I didn't practice, right? Like you got to practice with irons, but I thought it had a good variation of standing and shooting. I don't want to say standing and shooting, but moving to a position and shooting. So there was always something to do. And I think that's where I like where it should be. Those are the type of matches I like. I don't mind the technical. I kind of like the technical matches because you have to figure it out. But I want to see something where they kind of flow. Like a lot of times you go to these matches where they consider them technical, and all you do is they're so damn choppy. There's a stop at this corner, stop. There's no movement required. It's literally just who can run the fastest. There's no flow to the stage, right? Like it's okay. I'm going to shoot over here and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to shoot this stuff and then I'm going to run over here. I'm going to stop. I mean, I don't know. I just like the stages that flow. And you're not going to have every stage like that, right? You're not going to have like look at your stages. You had a couple standing and shooting stages. But even the stage where, like you said, your first stage, you ran to the left, you ran to the middle, you ran to the right, but it was a flow, right? It was never really where you're going to like, okay, man, I got to run here and then I got to run back 2 feet and then I got to run up 2 feet and run back 2 feet. There was a flow to the stage, right? So even those little short courses, you can have a good flowing stage. And they usually do a great job at that at nationals, but I thought low cap, and I know a lot of people thought the stages weren't good. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but I heard some griping about the stages. I thought they were great stages. I really did. They were simple, but extremely hard because of the round count, right? So when you start throwing 24 rounds and 30 rounds with these bigger guns and the PCC with 56 rounds, it's really hard to build a stage. It's really hard to build a stage that is difficult. Because when you have extra rounds, people will take extra chances, right? They will take extra chances. So like if I was shooting low cap with a carry optics gun, you better damn well believe I'd be shooting every one of those stages on the move. There was no risk, right? There was plenty of places to reload. When you have 10 rounds or single stack, 8 rounds, there's a lot of stopping, right? Yep. There's a lot of stopping. So unless you have confidence and you think you can execute it on the move, but there was a lot of stopping on those stages. But again, I'm excited about nationals this year. I hope it's going to be, obviously we all have a match book, but I just feel like where I'm at mentally and physically, and I still have a month to get ready. So I'm excited and I'm ready to rock and roll. And I hope it's a good match this year. At least I hope I have a good match. I'm sure it'll be good. I just hope I have a good match. I don't want for the last 2 years, I've had mechanical problems with dots for 2 years in a row. Well, actually 1 year. Last year I had an issue with my dot, which was crazy because I went almost 2 years with no failures. And then at nationals, it won't hold 0. It's 6 inches off. Just crazy. And then the year before I had a bunch of gun problems and then fixed it on the last day. So that, what good does that do if, I'm already out of it by that point. So I don't know, man. Like, so how's your training for nationals right now? Are you putting in a lot of work or what?
No, I would just say no. I just got back from Aruba. I will be shooting this Saturday. I've been doing dry fire. I'm going to start ramping up as much as humanly possible and work on the weaknesses where I think I'm weak at. Speeding up transitions, speeding up movement. Those are my focuses right now. So, we'll see. I'm very optimistic. I'm really happy I got to shoot Aruba. I learned a lot, and I think it's going to help me in nationals. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So let's talk about that before we get out of here, bro. And I've been kind of wanting to talk about this a little bit. We haven't really had an opportunity to talk about this before because we haven't gotten close to nationals yet. But at some point, you're going to have to stop focusing on getting better, and you have to start dialing it in, because at some point as a shooter, before you get to these matches, you are what you are, right? Yep. If you can't move and shoot a month out from nationals, don't be moving and shooting at nationals. Now, that's completely opposite of what I coach. It's completely opposite of what I coach at when I'm teaching people how to shoot, because when I all of the things that I say online and in my shooting academy and everything is meant for practices. It's meant for local matches, because I truly believe local matches don't mean shit. You know why? Because they don't. They don't mean a damn thing.
Those are good practices.
They're great practices. They're opportunities to give yourself experience in match mode. right? And what I mean by match mode is doing the things that you're not good at, things that you struggle with, moving and shooting, all those different things that you're not good at, do those under your local matches, because now you get practice with things that you're not good at under pressure. So one of the things that I learned at the JJ class was, and it's really changed the way I think about practice. And I think he learned this from Eric Rafael. You get one chance in a match. So when you go to practice and you keep running the same stage over and over and over again, why couldn't you do it the first time? Right? Why couldn't you do it the first time? And that makes so much sense. And that's why I changed some of the things that I started training on, because I'm not building anything, right? Like, so I have a different opinion about when it comes to what he said, like when it comes to training the same thing over and over again. When I want to build a skill, I'm training that same thing over and over and over again, the same drill. I'm not changing the drill up. I'm not changing the targets. I'm running the same drill over and over again, because I don't really care about the results. I care about the techniques that I'm working on. The results will happen on their own. So if I'm moving and shooting and I'm just starting out, I'm focusing on shooting between steps, right? I'm focusing on what my dot's telling me, when I'm supposed to be pulling the trigger, aggressive trigger prep, all those different things. When it's time to run it in a match, I'm focusing on the same exact things, right? When I shoot a match, a local or a major, I never think about the target ever. I don't give a shit about the target. I think about my footwork and the trigger pull.
Exactly.
I don't think
But you
about
don't do that at a national championship. You don't do that at a major match. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no.
yeah.
I'm not getting better at a national championship. Yes. No.
Yeah, exactly.
But at nationals, when I'm shooting a stage, I guarantee you my thought will be on my footwork and the trigger pull, not on anything else. The stages take care of themselves, because I already know what the stages are, because I've walked them. I've memorized them. That's all overdrive. I don't even have to think about where do I go. And you should know that. It's same thing with a reload. You put that in your stage plan. You should know exactly your focus goes. So something else that JJ said that I thought was really important to share, and I thought this was a huge thing, because I hear it all the time. Shooting is subconscious, right? It's not. The shooting of targets is a conscious thing. Reloading is a conscious thing. It's 100% correct on that, because we plan the reloads. Have you ever seen a production guy, me, who reloaded when you're not supposed to? That is subconscious thinking. Oh, I'm moving. I need to be reloading. What if you only shot 2 bullets out of that 8-round mag? Right?
Good point.
That's subconscious shooting. Subconscious stage planning is where I separate my opinion from what they think. Subconscious stage planning. Yes, I want that stage plan subconscious, right? 100%. I want to be able to run that stage with my eyes closed. Boom, boom, boom. I don't have to think about any of that. But when it comes to the shooting of the targets, when it comes to me leaving a position and having to reload, I'm consciously thinking of that at the time. But while I'm shooting targets, my subconscious is just go. You know where to go, right? That's all done. But when it comes to me moving and shooting, I'm thinking about stuff. I'm actually thinking about trigger pull, footstep, all of those things. So eventually it gets to a point where if you move and shoot enough, you don't actually think at all about your footwork. All you're thinking about is trigger prep, right? Like boom, 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 pull, 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 pull. You're not even thinking about the footwork, because you know when the foot rises, it's time to pull the trigger. And that's where it changes, is when you start thinking subconsciously. Thanks for turning down your phone. Very unprofessional. So that's the thing where it changes, when you start subconsciously not having to think about the actual technique that you're using, and you're only thinking about pulling the trigger, right? And seeing holes in paper. That's a big thing. I'm so target focused that I see the holes in paper as I'm shooting. So I know what I'm hitting, right? Yep. I know if I need to make a makeup shot and whatever. So that's a lot of the stuff that's changed for me recently. It's really, really big. And the match prep for me now has changed a lot. After this week's practice, I had an 800 round practice. We talked about, there was quite a few guys actually it was kind of great timing, and it just kind of worked out, where I dropped some information online about how I like a large round practice. And the things that I mentioned on there were so important. Or let me rephrase that. The things that I mentioned on there are the things that I've discovered in what I get from a large round practice. So a large round practice gives you so many different things. To me, I like it because it fatigues me. And what do you think is going to happen after 2 or 3 days of nationals? You're going to be fatigued.
Yeah.
Right. Mentally.
So it forces you to stay focused even when you're tired. Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, so think about it. You shot 20 stages or 20 stages or more?
At 20 at Aruba. Yeah.
All right. 20. So 20 stages at Aruba. You flew to another country. You had to get all your gear there. You had to mentally think about all that stuff, mentally think about everything that you got going on at home, get there. And then you had 20 stages that you couldn't walk. You could just visually see from the back. And then you have to walk stages right before you get on the stage, right? Is that when you walk stages?
Yeah.
4 minutes or whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah. You get 3 to 4 minutes.
3 to 4 minutes to walk the stage. And then you have to mentally hold it together for 20 stages. I guarantee you by the end, you might not have felt it, but I guarantee you by that last 5 stages, you were like, oh my God, dude, I'm tired. Like I'm beat.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yep. Oh yeah. I mean,
so did you shoot 2 days or 3 days?
2 days.
Even
10,
worse.
10.
You shot 10 stages in one day and had to come back and shoot another 10.
Yeah.
That's why I always think that nationals is the best match. Aruba matches like that have large amount of stages because it's literally mental warfare for 3 days.
Yes. You got to have your mental game wired tight, man. Right. Period. You got to have it wired tight. And you got to account for, okay, if you make a mistake, your whole world does not collapse. You're not done. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, the whole, I'm screwed, but you've got to pull it together. Like a great example was what you brought up. And, I shot 2 deltas the first stage. I think I shot a delta the next stage. And, there was a couple of stages where I had 2 deltas. I'm like, oh gosh, you got to pull it back together, refocus and keep going. It wasn't like my match was over or the whole world wasn't collapsing, but you've got to be able to have mental strength to right the ship and do things correctly, So, it was great. It was good. It was a good practice. I mean,
well, and you know what? The other shooters are having problems too, right?
Yeah,
did any of those guys that beat you run a perfect match? No,
not at all. Nope.
So if you quit, I mean, if you quit, you definitely don't have a chance to win. Right. Yeah. If you just give in and you're like, oh man, the other thing is, and I see this a lot, you got to stop looking at the scores if you're having a bad match.
Like, oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, listen, my mental game is pretty darn good. I don't do that. And I'm sure there's a lot of great shooters, way better than me, that they look at the scores, whatever. For me, my focus needs to be on running the stages, man. With the scores, how it shakes up, how they shake up,
So but this year, because of where I hope to be, I'm going to look at scores a little more at nationals. I plan on looking at scores a little bit at nationals, but I will tell you, I've been training myself to look at scores for the last few months. So, because it used to really bother me a lot. And it was because I was so focused on winning stages. I always thought that if you didn't win the stages, you weren't going to win a match. And then I started paying attention to how many stages I actually won. And I started realizing that winning stages doesn't matter. It doesn't mean shit. The most important
consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what I was getting at. It's the most important thing is that I'm in the top 5 at every single stage.
Yeah.
Right now, there are guys that win every stage and you're not going to beat them if you're 2nd, 3rd, or 5th. Right. And that's fine. But if you honestly look at nationals, everybody, all the great shooters, nobody wins every stage. No, there's too many good shooters. There's too many things that go into shooting a match. All that matters is you're in that top 5 and you can win a major match by being in the top 5 on every single stage. Because eventually you're going to hook up and win one. Somebody's going to make a mistake and you're going to win one. Well, that could be all it takes is that one win. Even if, again, there are guys who have won national championships, right? If I remember correctly, I think Ben Stoger won one of his national championships and never won a stage. Like not one single stage. Consistent, man. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, because this sport is about mistakes. It really is. Like, this sport is about mistakes and minimizing them.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the good thing of like, you can't, a 20 stage match, you can't sprint a marathon.
No way.
So you can't go 0-0. If you go, I'm not saying you're going to shoot slow and like a wuss, but if you're consistent and you eliminate as many mistakes as possible, you're going to do very well. You are going to do well.
I would say the biggest problem with where you kind of get into you kind of get stuck though as a shooter, especially as you get into the lower levels or even the anything underneath an A. Even the A guys do it. You get stuck with this mindset of I'm just not going to screw up. Right. And when you go in there with
then you shoot like a wuss.
Then you shoot like a bitch. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You said it a lot nicer than I did, but you can't have that attitude. You have to, the results are not predetermined. So if you go in there thinking like, oh, well, that guy showed up, the match is over. You're right. You've already lost.
Yeah. That's
you can't
dumb.
have that attitude. If you go into a match and let's just say you're having a good match and you have one stage that you mess up on, right? That's not the end of the match. If you have a mic, 99% of those mics you can outrun. I guarantee you the top shooters are going to have mics. These matches we're going at such speeds that you're going to make a mistake here and there. Yeah. But speed cleans up a lot of those mistakes. It's pretty amazing. If you're that fast and you're going fast, a lot of those mistakes disappear. Right. Yeah. They disappear, man. How many times have you seen me outrun a mic? Right. I mean, it's just, and it's not that I'm shooting it on purpose. I'm not like, hell yeah, I'm just going to let it rip. I just did not focus for that one single bullet. The worst to me are the ones that you call a great shot and it's not there.
Yeah. Like
right. Those are the worst. Like those drive me nuts. We had one at practice this weekend and I looked at it and I'm looking at it. I'm like, what? And I'm looking around the target and I'm looking everywhere for it. And I'm like, what the hell did I see that I thought that was a dead center alpha? And I only had one, right? I only had one and it was 25 yards, but I called a great shot. So, but at 25 yards, man, it only takes a little wiggle of
it could be just a bullet, a flyer bullet. Who knows?
And I'm going to tell you, I think I know what it is. And it's something that I've been working on a lot and I'm ready for this year. My weakness will not be distance at all, because that's all I'm focused on right now. And obviously you see me shoot. We shoot a lot of matches that have hosers. I don't need practice with that. We got plenty of those.
Yeah.
But all of my practices right now are small steel at 25 yards. Dude, I finished off my last practice with 25 yard small poppers on the move, going across, working on that. Out of 8 poppers, I missed 2 shots on the move at my pace. And that was multiple times. And then when I would miss, I knew exactly why I missed. That is one of the things that I refuse to allow be my weakness this year. So it's something that I've been training on and you know, it's time, dude. I'm chasing that championship and you got to work hard and you got to look at your weaknesses because every year I've always been good at long distance. I've never had a fear of or a lack of long distance skill, but my speed on long distance, like I shot like an old lady. Like it was just like pop, pop, right? Like just wasn't there. So now I've been throwing in the small steel. I've been throwing in everything I can that's difficult. Hard cover, you know, trying to shoot no shoots on the move on long distance. So that's another thing I'm learning at my practice, bro, is I'm learning patience to not move on things that I shouldn't move on at nationals.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's that has become a weakness for me is I can move on everything. Absolutely. I can 100% move on everything and be successful.
You don't need to move on everything.
Nailed it, bro. I don't need to move on everything. So it's finding those spots where it's important to move and where it's not important to move. Where can I make up that time that other people aren't willing to go for it? And where do I need to guarantee that I'm not going to make a mistake on that target? Because there's many stages that we run that you can lose the stage because of the way you chose to shoot it. Even though you shot it well, one mistake could cost you the match, especially at that level. I mean, these guys are losing or winning national championships by a quarter of a point, less than half a point, right? That's insane numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get there. I want to be up there so I don't have to worry about it. I want to try to get that championship that I'm not worried about that quarter of a point, because I don't know if I can handle that. The other big thing about that, dude, is I don't have the experience these guys have. So one of the big things, I watched one of the podcasts, or not podcasts, but I watched one of the live videos that Griffel and JJ Ricazza had. And I thought it was very interesting how they think about shooting because of how many years of experience they have. Both of those guys have been shooting since they're little kids. And they were talking about, and I've said this from the very beginning of me shooting this game, is it's all about experience. This is a sport that, this is why coaching helps a lot in this sport, is because you're taking my 3 years of tinkering around and trying to figure out what I suck at. And then I found it. I figured out how to fix it. So now I pass that on to everybody else.
Save time.
Oh, dude, not only save time, but I'm giving you my experience. I'm handing you my experience, and the way I coach it, I'm literally physically going, look, this is how you fix this instantly. Now it's just your turn to practice it and get comfortable with it. I think that's the hardest part, right? I think that's the hardest part, man, is that you have to get comfortable with the things that you're learning, new things, right? It's not that they're too difficult. It's not that they're hard. It's that it's uncomfortable because you've never done them. So listening to those two guys talk, 25 years.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Of experience in this sport. Dude, I have 3 years. October will be 3 years of experience. What the hell?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but what the hell? How do you make up 24 years, 23 years of experience? You don't.
I mean, you don't. You can't. You know?
Well, and that's the thing. Is so right away, I'm already at a disadvantage. Right. And you're talking about guys that are professional shooters. I'm already at a disadvantage. So for me, I have to put the extra work in to kind of cover that gap up. Right. So, and I'm old. Let's throw that in there. I'm 42 years old. All these guys are, well, I think JJ's getting up there, starting to get up there a little bit in his age, but I mean, the dude's a beast. He works out. He's always in the top 5, top 2, top 3, whatever. But that's the thing. Those guys, Griffel, I mean, the guy hasn't lost a match in I don't know how long. Right. And that's another thing. They take care of their body. Right. The physical part is something that I didn't have the last couple of years at nationals. And this year I feel like I have it a lot more. I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but I don't know if I'll get there within a month with my schedule. Shit.
Yeah, I know.
I'm lucky to be able to get out of bed and get to work and on time at this point with no sleep. So, but it is what it is, man. Just trying to put the work in. So you got anything else you want to tell the people?
No. Well, to everybody out there that's trying to get better, focus on the things that you're doing right, but really focus more on, and I don't mean, but focus on what you're doing wrong and fix those things, but not, don't beat yourself up. This is a game of consistency and eliminating mistakes. It's truly what it is. And this 20-stage match is the first match I've ever shot with that many stages. And that 100% is what it is shooting your game. I didn't worry about what someone else did or try to emulate what someone else did. I just tried to shoot my game and eliminate as many mistakes as possible. And, and it served me well. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go counteract that. I'm going to counter that. And I'm going to tell you, stop shooting like a bitch. Go out there and work on everything you suck at. And no, seriously, he's right. It's 100% correct. You have to start focusing on the things that you do wrong to get better. There's a time to shut that off, and it's before big matches. I would say 2 to 3 weeks before a major match, you should be focusing on getting dialed in, not working on anything, dialed in.
Yep.
And then when you get done with those matches, because you're supposed to be videoing every stage, video all those stages, go back, analyze all that stuff, and start working on that again. Pick up where you left off, but now you have more content to add to things that you've done. So the easiest way to get better in this sport is to sign up for the Tom Castro Shooting Academy Insider Circle. Little plug there. The other way to get better at this sport and super quick is focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
One thing at a time. Stop trying to be an overall great shooter. It doesn't work that way. There is so many touching parts in this sport. There are so many times that when I'm coaching, I have to stay on topic while I'm making videos for the Insider Circle, because as I get on one topic, it goes into another topic, into another topic, into another topic. You have to be focused 100% on one thing at a time. And if you're not focused on one thing, then everything just bleeds together and you never get good at anything.
Great. That's a good point. So you should have a plan to get better. There should be an actual plan for you to get better, meaning these specific skills, work on this, and this. And it should be in an order and some kind of a plan. Like you said, don't just take it all at once and try to fix all at once, because that's just not going to happen. Have a plan to get better, you know?
So the first thing I'll tell you, and I'll give you a little list here of how I would break this down. The first thing I would focus on is fundamentals. Absolutely fundamentals. And fundamentals go from, basically what I mean by fundamentals is gun handling, reloading, draw, all those kind of things, right? Because draw to me is very important because it starts the stage. It's what gets your mind right. When you have a crazy fast draw, and I don't mean so out of control that you don't see your sights, because the sights decide everything. But when you have a really good draw, you get your draw down to a sub-second draw, all of a sudden, your brain's like, this is what we're doing today. We're hauling ass.
It's on. Times 20 stages.
Right.
You can do that times 20 stages, you know?
Right.
That adds up. That time savings adds up.
So your average draw in USPSA is probably a 130. Like people, if you have a 130 draw and you knock that down to 3/4 of a second to a second, dude, you're saving a quarter of a second without anything, without getting better at anything else other than just moving your hands faster.
3 times 20.
Right. It's a huge difference in time. And one thing I learned when I first started is one of the guys, Mike Howell, that taught me, he's like, these guys that are at the top, when they see somebody coming up getting better, they look over and they go, oh, that guy's draw slow. Well, he's not even a guy I have to think about. I've already beat him by 4 seconds because of his draw. This stuff all adds up, right? So the first thing I would think about is fundamentals. The second thing that I think is, and honestly, this is to me a fundamental thing, is movement. Movement is a fundamental thing that we overlook a lot. It is the most important thing in this sport to get better at, because it will make you instantly faster. I guarantee you, if you start thinking about your movement,
that's a low-hanging fruit.
Oh my God, is it ever? But it will save 2 to 3 seconds per stage sometimes. But here's the best part. It's not about 2 or 3 seconds per stage, because again, we're thinking about consistency here and about having it on an overall thing. It's the overall match time. If you save just 1 second per stage in a 10-stage match, you just saved 10 seconds on your old scores. Instantly save 10 seconds. There's nothing we do in this sport that can save you 10 seconds but movement. You're not saving 10 seconds in shooting, guys. It's the movement that saves
everything
the 10
in between.
Seconds. Right.
Everything in between.
Right. The shooting, the other thing that gets lost a lot, and this is one of the reasons why I talk about this all the time, and I'm a big stage planning guy. Stage planning is very important. Stage planning saves you time. And I'm going to tell you how and why stage planning is so important. And a lot of people disagree. I hear a lot of people tell me stage planning doesn't matter as long as you don't suck, as long as you don't bomb it, any stage plan will work. I 1,000,000% disagree for one reason. The way I stage plan allows me to shoot slower with the gun. I don't have to rip the gun. I can see the target. I can see the hits a lot better because I can shoot the gun slower. I don't need 0.13 splits to win stages because I'm constantly, the way I stage plan, I'm trying to constantly shoot my gun.
And be moving while you're doing it.
And moving while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But I hear this all the time, that stage plans don't matter as much as the way you execute them. Execution is very, very important.
It's huge. Yeah.
But if you set your stage plan up to not be efficient, it doesn't matter how well you execute it. You'll still never have the best plan. That's a fact. I don't know how that can even be argued. If you don't have an efficient stage plan, right, it doesn't matter how you execute it. It's not the most efficient. So anybody else who has a better, more efficient stage plan and executes it the same, you
with a
lost.
similar skill set. Yeah. With a similar skill set, you're done.
Right. But I hear that a lot because what happens a lot is you have the really good shooters in this sport are talking to the guys that are in the bottom. Well, if you stage plan designed for your skill set all the time, you never get better. So I think the issue is you got to learn to separate. The conversation just kind of gets blended together and kind of gets thrown into one pot. You have to separate practice, local matches, and major matches. So if you have a stage plan that you aren't confident in at a major match, then you shouldn't run that stage plan. That's not what I'm saying. But at local matches, you need to do stuff that you're not good at to practice it. If you're not moving and shooting because you're not good at it at locals, why? Why are you doing that? Don't you want to get better? That's what you're doing the sport for, is to get better. So do the things that you're uncomfortable with at the local matches to get better. And I guarantee you, if you suck for a month, by week 4, you're not going to suck as much. Right. Yeah. And then week 5, 6, 7, 8, people are going to come up to you and go, what the hell, dude? How'd you figure that out? Oh, I joined Tom Castro's Shooting Academy Insider Circle. That's how I figured it out. Right. Another little shameless plug, but that's how it works. You have to suck. You have to embrace the suck. I talk about this all the time. You have to embrace the suck. Doing something where you're not good at it means growth. When you suck at something, it means growth. It means you're fixing. Well, you have to fix it. Obviously, you have to work on fixing it. But when you're not good at something, that's growth. Right? When you fail in business and you start another business, or you come back from that failure in business, that's growth. If you have an argument with your wife and you guys fight over something stupid, then you guys work it out and you figure out, hey, listen, we need to stop arguing about stupid shit like that. That's growth. But if you avoid the suck, you avoid that argument with your wife, it never gets fixed.
You're going to be stagnant.
It never gets fixed. So that's the thing. You got, and for you ladies out there listening, your husband as well. Got to keep it neutral. So it's big, man. It's so important to stay focused on not always trying to be great, right? Not always trying to be great. Sometimes it's good to suck at stuff and get better at it. It's how it works. All right. Before we get off here, let me see it. Come on. Show the people. Show the people. Ooh, look at that trophy.
Third place.
We need some of those. So you're the second loser.
Yeah, I know.
No, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that was
really
good.
It was cool.
That was really good.
It was fun. Yeah.
So I'm glad you made it home safe, bro.
Yeah, me too.
So, well, until next time, brother.
All right, man.
See you later. All right, guys. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in those comments, and I'll see you on the range.